I can't believe you still have men on the internet trying to shame other men into uh, accepting the idea of raising some other man's children. You literally have men going on rants, grown men, mature men. One cat says he's the granddaddy. So this is a 50-plus-year-old man trying to convince young men that there's something wrong with them, that there's something pathological with them because they don't want to volunteer to take care of another man's children. Now, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I don't even like kids. I don't want to be around kids. Uh, I don't want to discipline anybody's kids. When I see bad kids, uh, I take it upon myself to tell them to sit down. If you got a bad child in public, I'm gonna tell your child to calm down. And if you have a problem with it, you can come see me about it. But what I'm not gonna do is sit around somebody's bad kids. Now, I have my own kids. And the reason that my kids are well behaved is because I don't like bad kids and bad behavior. And if I'm going to have kids, it's absolutely certain that I'm going to be able to discipline them. But the thing about you folks, you ladies with kids, you don't want anybody disciplining your kids. And Lord forbid you got a baby daddy. The kid is living in my house. I got to put him in check because he has no home training. And then I get the fallback. I get the pushback. Because your bad child is doing something they shouldn't do, so you don't have the right to discipline. And then the mother's gonna intercede, and if you got a knucklehead daddy, baby daddy, then he's gonna intercede. So it's not worth it. You can't even run a household and have peace of mind in your household if you got bad kids running through there. So it makes no sense for a man with any sense, just on that alone, to want to deal with somebody else's children, because your house is gonna be full of hell. You're not going to have any peace of mind and happiness. On another thing, for all my fellas who want to have money and success and wealth, children cost money. Children are an expense. And I don't care what that woman says, how much child support she's getting. At the point where bills need to be met and ends need to be met, you as a man have volunteered to be financially responsible for those children. And let me just explain something to you. If you're trying to come up, if you want to have money and you don't have money, you're trying to move yourself from one class to the next class above, you don't have any money to spare. It's already bad enough you working 30, 40, 50 hours over the normal 40-hour work week. And now you got to come up with more money to support a family that has no genetic relation to you. And then on top of that, you got to work an extra job to get that, to make ends meet. So you don't even get a chance to save. How are you ever going to save and invest if you don't even have a chance to save? And and then not to mention the financial stress that comes along with trying to take care of a ready-made family. It costs $250,000 more or less to raise a child from 0 to 18. $250,000. So if a woman has 4 children, and she's not getting any sort of contribution from her children's fathers, that's an extra $1 million you have to come with just to raise those children. And if you want to put them through college, then the numbers go through astronaut. You up in the 300s each child. So that's an extra $1.2 million that you have to raise, that you have to earn in this short time period just to raise your children or somebody else's children. Not to mention the household expenses, your own expenses, your lifestyle. Can't do it. And any man who wants money recognize that they can't do it. And so, number one, you have no peace of mind and happiness in your house because you have no discipline. Number two, it costs too much. And here's another thing. What if you have your own children? I'm gonna be honest with you. I sacrifice a lot of time, energy, and money raising my children. And for the most part, I know that I can't do that for some other man's child. I can't do it. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I got a 17-year-old here riding around in a Mercedes Benz that I bought her. I'm not buying your child a Benz. When my boys graduate from law school, I'm going to buy each one a Rolex. I'm not buying your kids a Rolex, much less the time and energy it takes just to get them to that point, taking them to tutoring, paying for this, paying for that. I'm not doing it. And then on top of that, if we have children and your children, you are in one class, you're middle class and I'm upper middle class. Why am I supposed to give your children an upper middle class upbringing when when your child's father couldn't, when you couldn't provide for it? Why should I do that? What benefit do I get from that? That's just to come up for you. And nobody's going to answer these hard questions. What do you bring to the relationship that entitles you to maintain, to get you and your children, to get the lifestyle that was helped, that I've achieved based on what the sacrifices the people who came before me made. None of my family members want me to raise somebody else's children, especially if it means sacrificing or giving to somebody else the sacrifices that my family made for me so that I could provide for my own children in a certain way. It's selfish. It's straight up selfish for people to think that just because I get married to you or just because we have a relationship, I have to bring the standard of living of your children all the way up to that of my children. And what do you do with that? I'm telling you now, ladies, as one of these high value men that you ladies say you want to have, it is illogical and financially not feasible for me to take in your offspring and treat them on the same level as I treat mine. I'm not paying for your children's college tuition. I'm not going to pay for their daycare. I'm not going to do it. Now, there are some things you can live in the same house and under the air conditioning, but what happens when we start talking about sharing sleeping quarters and resources, bathrooms? If I have 2 kids and you have 4, that's 6 people in the house plus the 2 adults. That's 8 people in the house. And I'm supposed to do all the sacrifices I've made to uplift my family, and now I have to do what? I have to sacrifice for you, and what do I get out of it? Because last I heard, this whole stepping up to be stepdaddy is a thankless job. What are your children going to do for me? This is not 1820, where we had fields and fields of vegetables and other products, tobacco and cotton that need to be picked. You serve no purpose. Back then, people would take in other people's children. People would be stepdaddy because, number one, the father of the house had the respect of the community, the respect of the neighborhood, the respect of the people in the house, and what he says goes. On top of that, they had a lot of labor that needed to be done. So those children were actually contributing to the income of the home. Back when my grandfather and my grandmother picked cotton, they had 9 kids. And with those 9 kids, all those kids were in the field as early as 3 or 4 years old, and they were all out there doing yard work, picking the surplus cotton, bringing those sacks in. They were sharecroppers. It served a purpose. They were able to get ahead. It was a hard living, but those children served a purpose. You kids don't serve a purpose these days, other than to run up your cell phone bill, use up all your data. What purpose do your children serve to me? And if you can't come up with some articulable purpose and show me some tangible benefit that leads to some financial upliftment for me, I don't see how any woman or any man out there can convince a man that these children are somehow worthy. And that's for the guys that have kids. I'm telling you now, I'm not going to treat your children the way I treat mine. Your children are going to be treated on a lesser scale than mine. I'm not going to do the things that I do. I'm not going to spend the time with them. I'm not going to have the relationship that I have with my own children because I know my kids. These are my kids. I trust my kids. They know me. I tell them something, they respond because we've had years and years in time to build up a relationship and a level of respect and trust. They know what I'm doing is in their best interest. Even if they don't like it now, time has demonstrated to them that as a father, I have them do things that's in their best interest. I don't know your kids like that. I don't know your kids. and they don't know me. So why are you trying to put human beings together that don't know each other, that may or may not get along? Let me tell y'all something, man. And I want you to understand. I want you to hear this from the bottom of my heart. A lot of you women have such little respect for manhood, such little respect for fatherhood. You think you can take one man who impregnated you and seeded this child and just replace him with another man. Like these are Build-A-Bears or something. Well, this one didn't work. I'm gonna get this one out of here. I'm gonna put this one in this place. You have such little respect for manhood, and it shows. Any woman out there telling you that she doesn't need the father of her child because she can just get a new man, or if she gives you that impression, run. That's a straight up red flag. It lets you know she has zero respect for fatherhood. Let one of these men tell any group of women that, oh, I don't need the mother of my child. I can just get any other woman to play mother. Oh, you might as well committed blasphemy, because we respect motherhood in this society. We give women the benefit of the doubt. Oh, she must be a good mother, even when she's a horrible mother. But that same deference is not given to men. It's not, fathers are not seen as a benefit. We're just place fillers. That's why they can say, okay, this one out, next one, step up. You mixing blood, you mixing DNA, you mixing temperament. When you put men in the house with children that aren't theirs, there's a question as to whether or not he even cares about. We know you don't care about that man. You may say you do, but truly you don't. You just see him as a come up. You see him as a place filler. You think you could just take one man and replace him, the father of your children, with any old man. Short-sightedness. Selfishness, disrespect to fatherhood. And that's the message that you're sending to your daughters and your sons. Men aren't important. Any old one of y'all will do, as long as he got a wallet. You don't need a man, you need an ATM machine. But ATM machines don't raise children. Men raise children. So at some point, we have to just begin to recognize what these women are really saying and what these men are really saying when they say step up and be a stepfather. They're basically saying they're disavowing the biological father. Hell with him, any old man to do, because all we need from you men is money. A job that when the children grow up, more likely than not, they're not going to appreciate you. They're not going to be respectful of you. They're going to want to be with their own parents. They're going to want to be with their own fathers. They're going to want to know who their real family is. And the truth is, these women pick and choose their baby daddies, and then they pick and choose the men they want to be with for their convenience. They don't do it for the children's best interest. If they had a choice between a man that they want to be with as opposed to the man that fathered their children, they go with the man that they want to be with. Children be damned. They don't care about these kids. If they truly care about their children, they would send those children to be with their father instead of bringing a new man in who had nothing to do with that situation. Because children need their biological father, because along with those biological fathers come the family members. It's some kids, you don't see your father, so you don't see your grandmother. You don't see your paternal grandfather. You don't see your paternal aunts and uncles. You don't see your paternal cousins, the people on your father's side. Because mom basically keeps you away from all those people, unless they're babysitting, unless they can do something for it. They hold them hostage. So you don't really get to know half your family. And you wonder why our families are so disjuncted, so detached. They do what's in their best interest. They do what they find convenient. They got this one man who knocked them up, and then they got another man who's paying the bills. Because that's in their best interest. A man could be a great dad. He could be a wonderful dad. He might not get along with his baby mama or his ex-wife. But she will pick and choose this other man over her baby daddy, even though he's going to be a better father if that new man is paying the bills. And that's straight up selfish. And that's the itinerary. So when you have these other black men, and see some of these dudes talking about, yeah, you should marry a single mom, they're really just patronizing these women. They're really just, because a lot of these dudes who say marry single mother, either they stuck with one or they're just pandering because they're trying to get likes and subscriptions. Very rarely will brothers speak honestly about this situation. It's almost blasphemy to say so because you have so many women who are raising children out of wedlock. And so to do so, if they say it in church, the women are going to leave the church. If they say it on social media, they're going to get a bunch of hate and mean comments. But at the end of the day, taking care of another man's children is a raw deal for men. It's a bad deal. It's bad financially. It's bad. It's bad as far as relationship because it puts more stress on the inside of the house. Now there are some dudes, they just like kids, cool. But most men don't want to be bothered with your kids, especially if your kids are bad, especially if you can't discipline those children. And here now in the United States, 70% of children are born out of wedlock. And I think that's the black community. And that is probably going to be subject to rise. So you have all these children born out of wedlock, and you have other men who are supposed to step up and take care of the kids. Why not go get back with your child's father? Why not give the children to the father? If you want to go date another man, give your children to their father. Let the father raise them. You women always talk about how hard it is being a single mother. Go ahead and get those children to the fathers. Since it's so hard, get rid of that hard task. Give it to the fathers. But the truth is you don't want to do that because we may find out that the fathers do a better job at raising those children than the mothers. Let me run that back. We may find out, and there are some statistics out there to demonstrate that and show that single fathers who raise their children or the primary custodial parent do as well a job as two-parent homes. Because fathers are going to install structure and order and control. They're going to teach children boundaries and respect. They're going to teach children how to control their emotions because that's just the nature of fathers. Pound for pound, fathers after a certain age are necessary and are a key component to the development of children. Fathers are going to help break those maternal ties and force those children to grow up. All moms do is infantilize the children, treat them like babies, coddle them, and then at the point where they get tired of dealing with them, then they just put them out there in the street unprepared to deal with the world, especially boys. These boys grow up and they have female coping mechanisms. They deal with situations the same way as their mothers deal with them. That's why the penitentiary is filled up with single mother raised children. Single mother raised boys is filled up. Go ask them. Very rarely are you going to find somebody who was raised in a two-parent home, a stable two-parent home, where there was a mother and a father. It's mostly single mother-raised children who cannot control their emotions, who get angry at the drop of the hat, who don't have respect for authority, out there running amok. And you wonder why we're in the situation we're in right now. And nobody's willing to tell anybody the truth. And it all starts because we reward single moms by having children. Number one, the government rewards them with at least a substance living. And I say substance, I'm talking about EBT, welfare, food stamps, Section 8. At least they can maintain a baseline of existence. And so because some people see that as an incentive, there's no repercussions associated with having a child outside of wedlock. So in fact, they say I can have a child with any man because worst case scenario, I can still get government subsidies and be able to take care of myself and that child. In fact, I'm incentivized to have children out of wedlock. And that's the federal government and the state government. If you look at the judicial system, women are rewarded child support and other social benefits from having children out of wedlock and then extracting proceeds and money and financial benefits from the man, even if they were never married. Heaven forbid you get divorced. Not only do you get child support, you may get alimony. You may get the property, the matrimonial home. And so women don't even have an incentive to stay married. They don't, even if they were married. And so they end up being what? Single mothers, because all of them are pushing them kids through the grocery store with no daddy. So whether or not they had them out of wedlock, whether or not they got divorced, whether or not they were in a long-term relationship, they still are incentivized to become single mothers financially. And until there starts being some, and the last thing you need to do is step up and incentivize that more so by being the fill-in man, by being the step-in man, being the stepping stone man. That's the last, because you now have just incentivized that bad behavior that is helping destroy the lives of so many young men and young women. These kids are growing up distraught. They're not prepared for the world. Something that daddies do. Men and women are different. I think we all can agree with that. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I appreciate y'all contributing to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. It's hot as hell back here. I want y'all to talk about the stories. This is a special thing I want you guys to do for me, okay? Go ahead, and when this video goes off, when this live goes off, in the comment section, I want you men to tell me the stories, the horror stories about being a stepdad, how you were treated, how you were treated. Tell me about how ineffective you were in the house. Tell me how you were neutered. Don't talk to my kids like that. Don't listen to my kids. I deal with my kids on my own. Tell me how the kids treated. I want to hear those, you ain't my daddy story. You ain't my daddy. Let's hear all those stories. So these dudes who are reading this comments and these people who read can have some pushback because they are in fantasy land. And you fellas, some of you guys don't even have kids and they think you're supposed to step up and help raise somebody. You don't even know anything about kids. You have never raised any kids on your own and they want you to step up and play stepdaddy. And heaven forbid the woman have more than one child by more than one man. 1, 2 different baby daddies, 3, 4 different baby daddies, 4, 5, 6 different baby daddies. What have you been doing? You have been spreading that thing around. You've been putting that thing on the road. You for the streets. You are for the streets. You got 4 or 5 different baby daddies. You are the streets incarnate. That's what you are. And now you want to find somebody to help you take care of them? I mean, really. You don't need a stepdaddy. You need a garbage man to take you out. What are you supposed to do with that? How many different man parts have been inside of you? What is he gonna do with that? And then you got and then you have the product. These bad children who don't respect male authority, who won't respect a man. How can a man have something? And you got 6 different baby daddies. What? And here's the cold part about it. Most of these women with good sense who love their own children, who love their sons, when asked the question of whether or not they want their sons to actively look for, enter into relationships and or marry women with children from previous relationships, they'll say no, they don't want that, because they know that that is not a step up for their sons. They know the responsibility that goes along with that better than anybody else. Those baby mamas don't want to play grandma to some stepchild. Now you got to buy he got to buy him a gift, her a gift. You got to contribute to their college fund. You got to introduce them. You got to deal with all the people on that other side of the family. People you not even, it's already hard enough to deal with your own family, much less a ready-made family, because you're not just dating a woman. You're not just dealing with her and her family. You're dealing with her, those 6 baby daddies, their that man's mom and dad. So you enter into a relationship with 12, 14 people minimum, as opposed to you dating a woman with no kids, no children of her own. It's her and her mother and father for the most part. Of course, people have sisters, but if you start counting that, You might have 100 people you got to deal with when you got a woman with 4 or 5 kids, about 4 or 5 different baby daddies. Do you really need all that in your relationship? Is this really a feasible thing to do? Is this really a financially, for men who want to be high value men who want to have status, money, and power, is that a good investment? What do you actually get out of that? What is your legacy going to say? Because see, those kids are not going to have your last name. They're going to go off on their own. They're going to do just like a lot of these brothers and sisters from these foreign countries do. They come over here and they Black American all the way until they win a gold medal in the Olympics. Then the Haitian flags come out. The Jamaican flags come out. They Black American all the way until they get that PhD from MIT. And then they Nigerian. Then they Ghanaian, talking about their Ghanaian heritage. They're Nigerian. My brother, I am so proud of me. Okay, I got the PhD from Harvard. Then they Nigerian again. The accent comes out. They no longer Black American. That's what's going to happen when you raise somebody else's kids. Your last name is Green. And little Timothy Smith walks across the stage valedictorian. I want to thank my mom and my dad, Mr. Smith. I know you couldn't always be there. And a shout out to Mr. Green too, man. Thank you for being the big homie. You're not gonna get the credit and respect of being a dad. And you not, so you what? You just, all that was for nothing. All that is in the memories. It's not part of your legacy. You just basically helped another man build his legacy. You got the dodo bird treatment. For those of you who don't know what the dodo bird is, the dodo bird would go kick other people's eggs. They would lay their eggs in another bird's nest. Kick their eggs out. Kick that bird's eggs out. Put her bird egg in that other bird's, and they lay on that egg. And next thing you know, you an eagle and you taking care of a dodo bird. That's what you got. You a dodo bird, fellas. You the opposite of the dodo bird. Taking care of somebody else's kids. Send them kids back to their mama. Send them kids back to their daddy. Start saying no so that these women will realize that stepdaddy is not an avenue, and that will make them control themselves and realize there's some repercussions for having children out of wedlock. Because as long as the government and men in general continue to take care of these women, there's no incentive for them to change. And for you men out there, you think about this situation. And I've heard about this on several occasions. These little girls, you meet them when they're young, they're children, you adopt them as your own, you help them get through college, you buy them their first car, you teach them how to drive. And then when it's time for them to get married, they want their real daddy. Somebody type real daddy in the chat room. They want real daddy to walk them down the aisle. Lord Jesus. But you got to pay for the wedding. Because you are the father of the bride when it comes to paper. And old Leon show up to walk Dusty with a outdated, straightened out Jerry curl from 1993. He walks his daughter down the aisle at this beautiful wedding that you paid for. How do you feel? You feel disrespected. You feel left out. You feel overlooked. You feel taken for granted. Imagine doing that your entire life. That's how you're going to feel being stepdaddy. And let's not even talk about your children. Your biological children, whether they're grown or whether they're growing up with these stepkids, are going to feel like you as a father neglected them for some other man's children. And they're going to look at you like you a sucker. They're going to look at you like you neglected them for your own blood. Your own children are not going to like you because you splitting up the resources. The resources are hard to find. I don't care how much money you make. So all you people out there trying to convince these brothers, these men, all men actually, trying to convince them that taking on a stepdaddy role is something that they should do and worthwhile. It's not. It's not. It's not worthwhile. It's not something you should. It's not something that an intelligent man would consider doing unless he's deriving some benefit from it. There's no tangible benefit in that for an intelligent man who wants to be successful. Now, if you don't have nothing to lose, if she paying all the bills and you basically, your options are to sleep on the couch at your mama's house and move in with this woman, well, you know what? Go ahead and play stepdaddy. It's a come up for you. Okay, but Other than that, there's no win in that situation, man. Shout out to all the brothers in the chat room, man. I look forward to reading the comments. Let's hear the war stories. Let's hear the horror stories. It's Uncle D, and as I always say, I'm out.